Q&A. What thoughts, concerns, grievances, things we're trying to sort through, wanting some feedback on? Just unmute, raise a hand, throw it in the chat. Jeff, kick us off here.
So Nicole and I talked about this earlier this week, but I've got kind of a golden goose situation. There's this gentleman that he's phenomenal. He's a really great human being. He's retired CIA, and he's got just a pension where the man wouldn't have to work a day if he doesn't want to. But he and I have known each other for over a year. He's very logistical. He's very handy. He's super smart. He's got a really high IQ, and he's done everything. He has built a couple businesses back in Georgia, where his family, where his first wife family and everything were there. I'll keep it short, though. He's really talented. He could do anything he wants to do. And he's kind of got this, I don't know what I want to do with myself thing going on. And he's doing just like handyman work for a bunch of random people because it's keeping him busy. But he and I have had lunch multiple times, and we had lunch on Monday. And we sat down and Monday or Tuesday, and we sat down and we talked about him joining on with us. He loves building. He's a good carpenter. He's phenomenal at leadership. He's a really great heart. He's devout in his congregation. He's just a really great human being. And he and I have a real connection. And we're trying to figure out a way to kind of find a way to get him to be working with us, quite frankly. And I have this position that's really kind of glorified project management. I sort of hate to, pigeonhole people or try and put them into a specific definition. We do need to have those titles, of course, right? But I have this job description that I've written up, which is basically, long story short, a glorified production assistant. And now that we've got the new CNC in the shop, I need somebody to really kind of run a little bit of training, do some fabrication, do some production. But most of all, for me as a business owner, and why we're here, obviously, for me, accountability is really, really high. I need somebody I can be side by side with on the daily, that I can refer to, bounce ideas off of, get a second opinion on. Because quite frankly, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have realized this, running a business is freaking hard by yourself. It's a lot of stuff to do. And I am, delegating more, and I'm getting more of those roles hired out, those things those hats I need to take off. But I have this ticket with him. He needs to meet his bills, yes, but he's not looking for some ridiculous salary. And the man could quite frankly be, essentially a business partner if it built up to that. I am looking for some input about how you guys might navigate something like this. If you came across somebody that just, you knew in your heart, you felt it, I could really help this person and they could really help us. Like, this is not a selfish thing at all. This isn't me like taking a talented guy, paying him bottom dollar and just having him help us grow this business. I really want to help him and his family. But he could be anything for us. He really could. And I want to make sure that we're niching down, we're defining those roles appropriately. But how would you guys approach this personally? How would you kind of navigate this particular situation? I know that's a lot.
Well, to kind of summarize it, Jeff, you have this guy who has a lot of experience. You're wanting to bring him on. I think your question is, hey, how have you guys defined a role for a person like that? Is that kind of the main gist?
Yeah, the definitions for sure, but also I want to make sure that I'm providing an opportunity for him to really kind of do a little bit of sampling of all of the things that role could entail. So that if there's something that he has more of a preference towards, say, for example, we get him in here and he starts running the rig because he's really excited that he's come by when we're in the smaller CNC quite a few times and he's really fascinated. If I could get him going with this, and let's say he's just like, dude, I just want to design CAD and run the CNC all day long, right? That gives us an opportunity to put him in that role, everything, the CNC, training, the CAD design, production, like being in and out of the shop and on the field, off the field player. So I really have an open ticket. And I don't want to squander it. I want to approach this appropriately, make sure that we're making one step at a time to see how we could kind of, ease into this with him. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, should I just define a role, just get him moving? Is the action of just getting him into motion, getting things started a lot faster, giving him that opportunity? Or should I really kind of niche that idea, that role down, so that I can figure out how he could best benefit our business, and then that's going to help him grow. A lot of quiet over there. I know this is kind of a tricky one. I totally understand.
Well, I see both Travis and Bryce kind of itching here, but I think we're wanting to open it up for others. If anybody does have some advice, has worked with partners in the past or brought somebody on and kind of had to define that role or have them kind of try out at different areas and kind of see what the business, what best suits them in the business. Any client feedback here?
It's kind of a wild card, right? And see, this is why I'm doing a little bit of head scratching. I'm feeling the same thing that you guys are now that I've told you this. Is there's a zillion different ways that this could go, right? So I think what the easiest thing that I figured out so far is, what do I need? What do we need as a business? And that's not selfish to think at all. We're defining these roles to help grow our business. So I've kind of put it into 3 categories of what he could best be suited towards. And I think what we'll do is have him come by, spend a little time in the shop, maybe visit one of the projects, and then get a feel for, out of those 2 or 3 sort of roles that I really need to fill sooner than later, which one would best suit kind of how he's feeling about what direction he would like to go. I think we're going to have to make this an hourly position to start, just so he can get his feet wet. But then I would really like to make it a salaried thing if it's, the ROI is exactly what it should be.
Yeah.
You guys are so quiet this morning. I'll come with an easier question next week, guys.
No, it's all right. People just need a second to think and respond. So we want to let anybody go first. And then I've got some feedback here, but
sure.
Yeah. If anybody is wanting to unmute, I'll give you a second or 2 first, and then there you go.
Jeff.
It's Jeff.
Hey guys. So Jeff, I did this probably about a year and a half, a couple years ago, where I brought in 2 guys that had their own construction company, remodeling company. They were skilled trim carpenters by trade, but had this small construction company going, and they ended up coming to work for me with the intent of partnering and combining our businesses, basically. And we drafted the contract. We hammered out all the details. They came to work for me for about 2 or 3 months, and we hadn't signed the agreement yet, which was a good thing because it didn't work out at all. We just, after a few months of working together, I don't know, just didn't it wasn't a good fit. I mean, if I'm
2 different worlds completely.
Yeah, and just I don't know what it's hard to really wrap my head around exactly what happened. But again, I mean, big picture, it wasn't a good fit. So I haven't done that again. And so, but I also see where you're coming from, because I've also had a guy with an incredible background, military guy, who kind of became a bit of a business consultant for me for a little while, and I was trying to recruit him to come work for me, and again, just didn't quite pan out. But I definitely think slowly integrating him is the way to go. I mean, I think that's probably the easy answer. I mean,
I took a lesson from what you shared already, which was, and obviously this could not work out. You have to entertain the idea that regardless of how awesome this person is, regardless of how much you have in common, regardless of your background, it may not work out. And so to go slow, take it one step at a time, and have that opportunity for an out for both people, I think is really important, rather than fully committing and throwing him into the deep end of the pool.
For sure.
Right, exactly. I think bringing him in and something that you're both happy with as far as that arrangement goes, and letting him and you figure out what works for both of you. And maybe it takes 3 months, maybe it takes 6 months.
We got to make money. Yeah.
Right. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying so, Jeff. Mr. Lineweaver, were you about to chime in as well? Okay. Yeah. Any other client feedback before I jump in as well? Cool. Yeah. What Jeff said is great. The thing I would add as well, Jeff, is with your business, hiring people for the needs of the business, not necessarily for the things that they can do. If you have too many unicorns that are this like strange puzzle piece that can only be filled ever by one person, that's
Yes.
very constraining in the long term. So think
Yes.
about that as you have this whole idea going. This
Mhm.
guy could be an accelerant. Absolutely. I think that bringing him on in some capacity is great, but bringing somebody else in as a partner like Jeff shared can be rife with risks. You want to be really stingy with equity, especially if you're trying to do compensation
Yes.
plans or figuring that stuff out. Definitely wouldn't even consider that without them producing a lot for the business first. Like that wouldn't be something I would offer from the get go of someone coming into working together. And I know you're not doing
Absolutely.
that. You're already saying you would
Gotta
do it.
gotta walk the walk first.
Yep. But you got to know what your business actually needs. So
Yes.
having the role set for what's going to be fruitful for the business and then paying it accordingly. If you start out and bring this guy in for just doing the CNC stuff and pay him whatever that hourly rate would be that makes sense, and it's just that one specific role and he does it part-time a couple hours a week, and then maybe that can expand into more, great. Let that expand with time. But you got to know what you really need in the business first and not try to hire and make a perfect unicorn role to get and extract maybe the most out of it. That'll
Exactly.
come naturally with time, I think, as well.
Yes, exactly. I was telling Nicole, there was an interview, Matt Damon and all these guys were doing the rounds for the Odyssey. And he was talking about working with Steven Soderbergh on some film. And he gave some emotional performance and they all cut. And the director came over and said, yeah, no. And Matt said, no. And he goes, you're in the wrong movie. And as a professional, of course, he realized, he went, oh, put me in the right movie. And what it was the defining leadership. The director is constantly guiding the actors because you don't know what this movie is going to look like until it's done and edited and filmed and everything. So he's guiding them because he has the overall vision. That's exactly what I have to do. I've got to be able to have everybody in the right movie. There's no sense in having somebody in here doing something where their skill set could be on something else completely in their life.
Yeah.
So yeah, those defining roles, and I think starting with fundamental components is what we need the most out of that role, and then adding on any additional responsibilities that it can encompass. We've got to test the waters first to make sure that that's going to make sense. But yeah, you're totally right, Bryce. The bottom line has to produce first, instead of offering up to compensate for that the way that I would like for it to ultimately when it's up and running properly. That makes sense. This was good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Little slow burn for us to get our heads around that one, but I do appreciate the feedback on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, the biggest thing, I think we kind of talked about this last week. I think somebody had a similar question where, and Bryce summed it up well. And so I don't want to just beat a dead horse or reiterate it. But you got to hire for the need that the business has. That you're going to have people come to you with great experience or great opportunities. I tell clients all the time, good ideas can be bad ideas at the wrong time. You don't want to add to the chaos just because it's a good opportunity or a good idea. It could be something that we table for the future, but we got to address the need right now. And so I think that's the biggest thing that you could do right now, Jeff, is really identify what are the areas the business needs the most right now? What do I need the help with? What is my role going to look like? And then what, if this is my role, what other roles need filled, for the business to continue to run. And then we put him into that. And if he doesn't fit that, that's okay. It's okay for you. It's okay for him. You've now done what you need. So
absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah. Great question.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. What other thoughts, questions, things we're working through today? Unmute, throw it in the chat, raise a hand.
Hey, yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah, Philip, good to see you. What's going on?
Hey, so yeah, we're still growing, still going through some growing pains and trying to figure things out like SOPs, and we've implemented them and we're trying to get the guys to utilize them. And I've done everything from putting PDF docs together, putting QR codes on job sites so they can scan them easily when, when our PMs are walking around, and make sure they've kind of done all of our SOPs from foundation to framing, what have you, and even incorporated into our schedules. So there's a document in our schedules that they can click in and fill out. But I'm just struggling with them actually completing them. And not sure if anybody has a better idea or process for that.
That's a great question. I'm sure everybody here has felt that frustration of how do I get you to do this thing?
For sure.
Yeah, I would love some client feedback if we've got any. Rick.
Good morning, everybody. So we had problems with our guys. We use Service Titan. We had problems with our guys just simply not taking pictures. And I'm the one that's 0 to 100 in about 3 seconds. So I've kind of been laid back. Just, hey, we appreciate you guys. We do all kinds of stuff for our guys, as Nicole knows. Breakfast every Friday morning for the whole company. Once every 3 months, we do a big outing. We just, in May we went to bowling, stuff like that. So we try to give back to our team. And we just had a couple guys that just, we say, hey, pictures. And when you're completing the job, it's like it pops up. Did you take pictures? And these guys are just not doing it. And I have a very good lead guy that just simply would not do it. And I finally just sat down with everybody. I said, today's the last day. I said, it doesn't matter how important you think you are at this company, you're replaceable. And I'm fixing to start firing people because you won't take pictures. So all of a sudden we are getting great pictures. So I mean, just, I've had a 82-year-old plumber be kind of smart tell about it. And he took 15 pictures of the same toilet in the same spot. And so I told him, I said, that'll get you fired too, But so anyway, I mean, sometimes on that, I hope that helps. But we just had to crack down. I just told everybody as a whole company, somebody's fixing to be fired, and no problem since.
Just tell them straight.
I like that, Rick.
Push comes to shove.
Well, and we begged, hey guys, take pictures. There's so many times when we take pictures on that, when we do this stuff, it has saved us.
Yeah.
We wired a whole house one time, and vandals come in and cut wires, and they literally tried to tell us that we didn't have it wired yet.
Wow.
And we had pictures, and it totally saved us. So, it some of that stuff is, it seems minute and small, but it's the picture saves us or helps us on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Real quick, I am so glad that you added the additional context there, Rick. That you had a long period of telling your team, hey, this is what we expect. We need to do this, guys. We need pictures. Hey, guys, we're still not taking pictures. We need pictures. That there was a long period of requests that Rick didn't just go and say, hey, guys, you guys aren't taking pictures. Next person is fired. And so I'm just wanting to make sure that clients don't hear that and walk away and say, you know what, I've been wanting to fire some people too. I'm just going to tell them, hey, if you don't do what I say, you're fired. That can sometimes backfire on you. And it can sometimes create drama in your own business that's just not necessary. And so I love that when push came to shove. I do believe that when push comes to shove, it's like you have to make a decision. Hey, I've told my team I expect this, right? I've told them a number of different times. I've met with them, whatever. Now it's reached a point where there's going to be dramatic consequences, right? If this isn't followed, we need this to happen in the business. You can't have this happen. You're not going to be a part of this business. And so, yeah, I recommend that approach overall, right? It's like hey, talk to them first, like the first time, hey, we'll give you a pass. Second time, maybe make it more authoritative. Third time, maybe if there's different individuals, some people are doing it, some people aren't, meet with those individuals one-on-one, set a new expectation, maybe do that 1 or 2 more times. And then once you reach that point, it's like, I'm not tolerating this anymore. So great feedback.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a funny story. I'm sorry. Just I know Rick pretty well. And so thinking about him saying, next person that doesn't do this is fixing to get fired. And then all of a sudden, everyone started taking photos real quick.
I absolutely was not that nice. I'm just telling you right now. I said, guys, I'm done. Today's the last day.
I would not want to get on your bad side, Rick.
Yeah,
I know it.
Like I said, I'm 0 to 100 in about 3 seconds. So usually it has to build up. But the deal is the human factor. These guys are trying to get a job done. They're trying to roll out, and even I sometimes just absolutely forget because I'm running. But it's like I told the guys, I'm paying you. We're not paying you by the job. We're paying you by the hour. So if it takes you 5 minutes, you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
Just take the time to do it. So.
Yeah, and I think I always lose sight of the fact that it's hard for our guys sometimes to realize how important it is to do these things. And like our Friday meeting, you guys had kind of pushed us to, Travis had pushed us to move our team meeting to Friday morning so we could kind of plan for the following week. And everybody was like up in arms about it. It's like, Fridays are crazy. There's no way it's going to happen. Can't we do this time? Can't we do this time? And like, no, we're doing Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. We're going to try to condense it down so we can make to like an hour and a half. And we've been doing it for months now, and it works, and everybody is on the same page. So it's just like the forcing of like making them realize how important it is to do these things.
Yeah. Mr. Tony, you got some feedback for this piece here?
Not exactly feedback, actually more like a question. So
go for it.
It's almost in like the line of termination. You'd mentioned, the threat of somebody's job. It's a very good motivator. Predicament I found myself in is having already more business than my team can handle, and I'm in a position where I'm actually looking to hire people. So when you have, set an SOP or a standard and people aren't following it, now it comes time to threaten somebody's job. A roadblock for me, and probably not the only one, is like, well, if I fire this guy, well, now I got to tell these homeowners that your bathroom is, not going to get finished for an unknown period of time until I can hire somebody new, or go do it myself. So I guess it's like, yes, we're threatening people's jobs, and that's very motivating. But what happens if they take you up on it? I don't know, maybe just a little bit of encouragement that it's not so bad, or what are people doing to deal with that issue of being quote unquote understaffed, but still needing to fire somebody?
I see hands flying up. And I see every coach here is like clenching, wants to say something too. So great question. It sounds like you're feeling a little golden handcuffed, or not necessarily gold. You're feeling handcuffed where it's like, hey, I need to do something here, but I don't feel like I can. Rick, I would love it if you've got some feedback here.
So the very person that I was talking about when I had this whole wide company meeting is our HVAC guy, who is our only HVAC guy, and also holds the license for the company. And so our company name is Complete Plumbing, Electric, and Air, and we have spent thousands of dollars on logos, marketing to make this happen. I have a standard that I want to grow my company, and I don't want to stay a chuck in a truck. So everybody has to meet the standard. And if we've got one guy that doesn't, that could bleed off to the whole entire team. And in my opinion, yes, we would go backwards if he took me up on that and said, "Hey, that you're just unreasonable," and I'm gone. I would absolutely be in trouble because we've tried to hire HVAC guys and you can't find them. Especially ones that hold a license and that So yeah, when I made that decision to have the company wide meeting, and I blew up like I did. This is months and months of, hey guys, you got
500 a month for that lift.
Yeah. But so
Okay.
I think if you're going to hold a standard and you're going to grow a company, the standard needs to be across the board. Hey, this is the way we're doing it. If you want to work for this company, this is the way. Now, I appreciate you, and we do everything that we can to make this team work and to give you all the tools that you can to be successful in your role. But you've got to be there's got to be a standard, and that even goes to being late on a regular basis. Just because you're a lead guy and you're late, we got a standard we got to uphold, or you're going to bleed off to everybody in the whole team.
Absolutely. I would also say talk to whoever your consultant is about our hiring process. Because that is a great way to no longer feel handcuffed, is if you are consistently getting applicants coming in. And if you feel like you're doing everything, we can talk about other options, to get more applicants in. But you can't complain about what you tolerate, and you've got to hold people all to the same standards. Even if they're a lead guy, they still have to be held to the same standards as everybody else, and your business will suffer, and you'll have to make compromises you do not want to make if you have somebody who's just refusing to do stuff because they know that they're a top dog or you need them. And so that's my biggest advice, is we need to get you feeling confident that you can let somebody go, and the way to do that is through having applicants consistently coming in and consistently hiring. Scott, I see your hand up.
Just real quick, another thing that we were talking about just this morning was, we do incentive pay, and, incentive pay is based on performance. And so doing your SOPs is part of your performance. So, that's one step to take before you actually pull a trigger. There's other steps you can take and lead up to that. If somebody's reached the point where you're willing to say you're fired, you've gone a long way, and you've done a lot of other stuff to incentivize them or decentivize them not to. That's the only thing I wanted to add, is just make sure that there's other things that you can do along the way, like eliminate incentive pay or other things that you may do in your company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Rick was saying, is like, hey, I got to this point. And that's what I'll say, is if somebody on your team is not doing something, it's either one of two things. It's either they don't understand how, and so we need to take the steps to explain it, document it, train them. If you've done all of those things and they're not doing it, at that point, it's negligence. They're choosing not to do it. And so at that point, it's your role to hold them accountable to it. And if you've done both of those things, if you've trained them, given them the documentation, and then you've held them accountable and it's still not happening, at that point, the firing conversation needs to happen. You've done everything in your power. So it gets to that point. People should not, I think Robert said this before, nobody should be shocked when they get fired. Like they are not surprised. We have communicated, we've given them the tools to succeed, we've held accountable. It's still not happening. Tony.
So I definitely appreciate the insight on the actual termination on the employee relationship side. My question is actually more on the client relationship side, like kind of like, okay, let's say we've decided we have to fire somebody. How do we get ahead of the fallout are people calling their clients and saying, "Hey, I've got to let a guy go. I can't start your project for another 2 months," or both? What does it look like on the client side when we're terminating a key employee?
Yeah. Good question. I think, go ahead, Mr. Haviland.
I have found, so two things on that. First one is you don't have to tell the client everything, right? You don't need to reveal something that exposes you to some kind of judgment from the client that then would, warrant them not wanting to give a referral, say if you turn things around. But the few times I've had to go through this, and this would be the part two, is I've been very honest. And it's a face-to-face conversation. It's not a phone call. When you go and see them and you visit them, say it's like a day or two before you let this person go or whatever, and the project's moving, you want to do it while things are happening. It feels a lot more personal. And showing up and just pulling them aside and, hey, just wanted to let you know, we are very likely going to have to let so-and-so go. But here's what I'm doing to get out ahead of that. And so letting them know there's a problem, but then letting them know that you're already working on the solution. So if you don't have, like Nicole said, always be hiring. You always want to have that cachet of people just kind of like even in the queue that you've already gone through, done your due diligence, you've done background checks. You want to keep a few kind of, I don't want to say waiting in the wings, but you want to have that opportunity waiting for somebody so that you don't have to just kind of go, oh crap, and scramble, right? It's nice to hire not out of necessity. I'm sorry, what's our rule here? You're not hiring just to get somebody in place. You're hiring because you've gone through the stages and you've got the right person to get going. But if you're not in that position, you don't have that person, being totally upfront with the client, communication by far and away is the number one thing, right? And I find that being honest with people, if you have pre-qualified your clients, just like we do, because they pre-qualify their contractors, right? I will not take projects from people that I can tell, hey, if we got in a bind, this person would be difficult to deal with. I don't want to work with that person. I want to work with someone that's human and goes, hey, I understand this guy's family just had a baby and the baby's in the NICU. And now our project has to pause for like a week or something. Like I need somebody to be human and understand, hey, your bathroom's unfinished at the moment, but it's just a bathroom, right? You need them to be able to realize that if they're going to freak out and have some huge issue. But that's another topic. So short answer is honesty, letting them know what's happening. But the most important thing after all of that is letting them know what you're doing about it to make sure that you're rectifying it or getting out ahead of it.
Yes, that communication. People just want to know what's going on, especially in a contracting project. They do not want to feel like they're left in the dark. That's their biggest fear with hiring a contractor is that they're not going to know what's going on. The wool's going to be pulled over their eyes. Communication is going to be bad. Job's going to drag on. And you never need to get into the weeds of even saying that you're letting somebody go. Like all you're obligated to say is say, hey, I am moving blank person to be your point of contact, or hey, I'm going to be your point of contact for this job. I'm going to have blank person on. Like you don't need, if somebody asks, say, hey, yeah, they're moving on, and we don't need to get any deeper into that. They don't need to know. Let them wonder: are they getting fired? Are they just moving on for whatever reason? Like we don't need to get into the weeds of it with that customer. What Jeff was saying is 100% right. We just need to communicate to them who their new point of contact is, how it's going to affect their job if it is, and what steps you're taking to make sure that their job continues on as smoothly as possible.
Having something in your back pocket too, if let's say worst case scenario that they're like all twisted up about it, right? When you go to sell, when we do sales, I know what my 40, 45, 50% is in my head. So let's say I'm in a really big sale and they're trying to not haggle, but they want to get a little bit better on the cost or something. And I know what my numbers are. So I know that wiggle room. I've got that in my pocket so I can close at the sale, right? Same thing with something going wrong. Let's say, Janice gets all twisted up. Oh my gosh, this is just awful. I've got family coming into town, whatever. Having something in your back pocket to say, I completely understand. And here's what I'm prepared to do about that. If you have something that you could think about, right? We always try and go above and beyond, even just a little bit for our clients. If we do a full kitchen, they get a cutting board, from the shop or something like that. But just maybe keeping in mind, like, that one thing that you had, Janice, that we looked at during your initial proposal, I'd be happy to go ahead and add that, like it's a half-day thing or some little deal that needs to be fixed or whatever. If you can keep eye on those and kind of have those in your notes whenever you're running a project, adding some value is so much easier than dropping your price or giving a discount. Doing something that does
Absolutely.
more for them as a client makes them feel better than rather you hitting your bottom line and taking a hit because you had to make a shuffle on the playing field.
I love that. Never lower price, add value. Love that. Tony, any other feedback or question here? I still see your hand up, so just want to make sure we don't move on if you still got something.
Oh no, I just don't know how to take it off.
Oh, how to lower your hand?
You're good. We can do that
Yeah.
for you.
Same way you put it on.
I tried that and then it just raised my hand again.
Well, you just took it off, so you must have done something right.
Look at that, learning already.
Tony,
Good
real quick.
answers. I'm taking notes.
Tony, the only thing I'd say about that is, first of all, that's more of that does happen, but that's more of a unique kind of business challenge whenever you have a senior leader that you need to kind of suddenly let go of. Again, it does happen. It's happened to me a few times. I mean, this hasn't happened really that often, but we've had a situation where we had a coach on our team that I had to let go of, and we had to kind of shift some clients around. I liked a lot of what Jeff said. I like the point of, hey, you don't have to tell them everything, but I have found that like trying to cover it up as if nothing is happening is not the move, right? So depending upon the relationship with the customer, going to them and saying, hey, first of all, if you're needing to fire someone that was on someone's project, the customer probably already knows that something's not going right. They may be already frustrated with their mate. So sometimes like telling them that you're making some internal adjustments and that it might delay some projects or might delay the project a little bit. Maybe there's a creative way that you can own that or remedy that, or give an extension of additional services to a customer to kind of make up for it. But just kind of going to them straightforwardly, hey, we're having to make some adjustments. It might push some things back. However, making these adjustments ultimately is going to best serve your project. And to kind of make up for the possible delays that may arise, here's what I'd like to give you. Here's what I'd like to do. Having that approach a lot of times will be effective. I found though that people don't typically negatively react to that kind of message, especially if there was already pre-existing problems with their account or with their project because of this individual. If anything, they'll respect you more for taking care of business. And so anyway.
So love that. We
Time to
are
get here.
yeah,
Jesus.
we don't actually well, we've got a senior we have senior leadership in the company, but they're about the best thing you could possibly imagine. If Morgan's on this call, I think every company on this call also needs a Morgan Scott of some form or another. It's actually installer. So when I say critical player, we've got an in-house carpenter. He's got a handful of installation skills that we are extremely expensive to replace, but still all very good stuff. And then I guess kind of a secondary question in this is like, okay, this is related to vulgarity, and I'm thinking that some guys in here have addressed this problem before. This individual that I'm referring to will be extremely vulgar, and that's an understatement, in front of clients at their homes. And it just seems like even almost threat of fire has not done everything that I would like it to do to curb this problem. So now I've got to figure out, how do we actually just completely move on? And it kind of like throws a wrench. I'll either I go full retail and lose money on jobs, blah blah blah. I think everybody knows kind of what I mean when I say fallout. Has anybody addressed vulgarity? Like, obviously there's the firing issue, but do you think then another conversation we can have?
Yeah. I think Office San Felice, you guys are at the same company, so I'll say something real quick unless you're going to add to that. It's definitely something to address in a formal way. I put in the chat a write-up policy, which if you don't have any sort of thing like this in your business, you should. There's something to be said about formalizing a conversation and putting friction in the way. Because too often, if we just have that, heart to heart or come to Jesus meeting or whatever, that may be well and good, but it doesn't sit with people as much as if you document something and having that write up policy where you say, hey, we met, we talked about this, you got to sign it. If there are 3 write ups, that is firing, that's term, right? Or however you manage that system. That can make it sit and resonate. And yes, if they're being vulgar in front of a customer, if that write up policy says that that's a straight terminable offense, it's a straight terminable offense. But having the conversation first, when Nicole was saying before, it should never be a surprise if we have to let somebody go. This is kind of how you do that as well. Formalizing that into a conversation where that's documented to say this was an issue that's serious and it's going to be taken seriously. So I would implement that as well. Office San Felice, did you have something to add here?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, I just one question. We have an employee that makes a really decent amount of money, and he's constantly complaining he doesn't make enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hardest part we have, is because it's like Tony is such a good boss and such a good person that he feels bad for people. I mean, he's an awesome boss. I just absolutely love him. But when you got an employee that's constantly complaining they're not making enough money when you know they're making way more money than probably Tony's making, that's the hard part I think Tony has, is because he does feel bad. And how do you deal with a situation like that?
Yeah. No, that's good. You can add those details, but I think the answer is still going to be the same. To remove yourself emotionally from that circumstance is what has to happen here. And that formalization of the policy, it's not about I'm a jerk and I hate you and I've got favoritism issues. It's here's the policy, here's where you fell up against that, and that'll naturally filter out people that have those kind of attitude problems as well. But yeah, you don't want to be held captive or handcuffed to people in your business. You still are the business owner, even if you have really stellar performing employees and they just have this one thing that can maybe be a nuisance. But I think it's like Rick said earlier as well, that bad apple can really spoil the bunch. That attitude seeps across to everybody. It's going to be incredible potentially if you do let go of this person. And, I think all the coaches would agree as well. We're going to be, reluctant to say specifically, you should let somebody go because we don't always know all the details. But oftentimes in scenarios like this, when that person does reach the end of the road with that write-up policy and they do end up being fired, the feedback you get from your team, other people saying, oh man, things are so much better now. Like that's going to be confirmation that it needed to happen. I could say more, but Rick, you can go ahead, sir.
On the pay and where they think that they're worth more, one of the very first things that I do whenever I'm interviewing somebody is, how much do you think, whether it's a plumber, electrician, or HVAC guy, is what do you feel like the top out pay for somebody that I can send to a job and they not call me with a question? Just you get the job done. You can bid it. You can do the job. You got everything. You're not forgetting key components of the job. What do you think the pay is? And a couple months ago, I had an employee come in. He said, "Man, I'm not making enough," and he's an apprentice. And I said, "What do you think the pay is for this. If you could do everything, what do you think the pay is? And he told me, he said, it's $45 an hour. I said, you're $10 off. I said, I know one guy that I've ever met in plumbing industry that makes $34 an hour, and he is absolutely the bomb. I said, so you're off. And so, them realizing what the industry pays as an employee sometimes is a big help, because they think that they're getting, they get in contact with people who are traveling and making $55 an hour with per diem and all this stuff. And they think that they get here and they're worth that. And a lot of times they're not worth, most people are not worth what they think they are.
Rick, I miss you, buddy. That was a good answer.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for letting us kind of monopolize the entire second half of this meeting. I really appreciate it, team.
You're good.
Why we're here. Exactly
Yep.
how it should be used.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts here? We may have a little time to squeeze something in. Any other questions or things scratching your brains? Or thoughts you wish you would have said at those past questions?
I think one of the big things that is an important part of the answer to a lot of the questions we've talked about is just, this is why it's so important to run that hiring system at all times, not just when you know that you're looking for somebody. It can take time to find the right person. And so I think it was Jeffrey mentioned, having pre-qualified candidates. It makes that conversation with those employees a lot easier when you're not starting from zero, but you're starting from a list of 10 people that you've already identified as good fits for your company. And you just need one of those people to be available and want to come on board. And so I think that's an important part of it too, because it just puts you in a position of not being held as hostage by how are they going to respond to the conversation that I need to have with them. And so I think that's just kind of a common denominator, helps in all of these areas.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys again. I appreciate you guys being here. If you're new here, the way that we kind of like to close these meetings is we kind of like to do like a football huddle a little bit. It's a 3, 2, 1, and then we'll say growth. So if everyone can unmute their mics so that we can, just knock this out. Robert's already ready to go. So on the count of 3, we're going to say growth towards the end. So if everyone's ready, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, grow.
Bye, guys. Have
All
a
right.